All right. Looks like it's red. Welcome back, folks. Episode 36 of Martin the Fishbowl here. We've got a special guest today. Just finished up his 37th year coaching at the University of Minnesota. Men's baseball team coach John Anderson. A legend in his own right. We're sitting in his office here. I mean, just a lovely collection of memories. It's cool. It's an honor to be here. We actually were we had a fired up conversation before we even pressed record here. We're going to try and
chills,
get you,
Davey.
yeah,
You have the chills.
I know, I'm jacked. We're going to try and kind of emulate some of that same stuff we dove into. But yeah, Coach, it's good to have you here. We're excited to peel at you a little bit. Try not to get too. No, we're going to get fired up. But we'll try and keep it maintained here. Obviously, as a hockey guy, I'm excited to have a couple of baseball guys here to keep me wise, keep me rounded, and keep me learning. But we're happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely, Coach. This is just finished up in the Super Regionals this year against Oregon State, so congratulations. Where were you guys finished in the country to end the year there?
Different polls, somewhere from probably 8 to 10.
8 to 10, yeah. And you guys stayed in that top 25 for the majority of the year, right?
For a good half of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So for a northern team, unbelievable. We kind of touch on it. We'll talk a lot about the culture here that you've created over the years. We have a lot of questions. Davey and I were driving up talking about it. And but before we get into that, Coach, first of all, thanks for having us not only in your office and your university, but thanks for being on the podcast and being able to spill some wisdom at us today.
My pleasure. I hope we can help somebody. If nothing else, we can try to educate and provide information and make people think. I think that's the important part, is make people think how they're going through their life's experience and how they're making their decisions. And if nothing else, if we can help one person or make somebody think and look at it a little differently, then we probably have done something good.
Absolutely.
Like what you said there, all you can really do is provide them with information. As a coach, you know that. I mean, if you can plant a seed, that's the best that any of us can do. It's up to the person to nurture that seed. And so we'll dive right into it, Coach. I mean, we were touching on it before we got here. Obviously, it's 37 years of coaching experience. You have seen a great many different sort of, you could almost say, eras. I mean, you got a lot of different types of players. You've gone through a lot of different, in society itself, starting from 1982 to 2018 here now. I mean, you could write a book about it. And kind of before we jumped on, then it's something we've touched on a lot in the last weeks is the change that we've seen now in these young athletes coming up here in the NCAA. I mean, we don't want to sit in on here and bash the NCAA, but there's a lot of things going on right now. There's a lot of talk, there's a lot of noise, and you're starting to see the young athlete shift, and there's a problem. There's something that needs to be addressed. It's part of the reason why Harvey and I have undergone and sort of taken on this endeavor to kind of, like you said, to create this awareness and begin the conversation, plant a seed, try to get some of these younger athletes to get wise on and recognize what a lot of these, coaches, professional athletes, some of these people who have achieved what they see. And in doing that, it's just a different kind of practice. It's a different kind of schooling, but one that more than ever, I believe nowadays is very important. And so before we press play, we were diving deep into it. And so I'd just like to get back into it here and kind of talk about what you've seen, Coach, as you've gone through these different eras of athletes. Talk about where we're at today. I mean, in 2018, obviously these last few years, we've seen a great big change in technology and I don't know what you want to call it, parenting, expectations, entitlement. I mean, you can go down the list. But as from a recruiting standpoint, building culture within your team, give us that present day. Where are we at? Where's the status quo at right now?
Well, I think what's really changed is young people are growing up or trying to grow up a lot faster than we used to. I think their life speeded up for them, and I think it's the nature of the world we live in, whether it's the cell phone and the internet and technology today. You live at a much faster pace. You get information a lot quicker than we used to get information, and can go on the internet and you can look at schools or places or look up things that you could never do 20 years ago. And so I think it's impacted the way the young people think today. I think it impacts how they go about making some of their decisions. And I don't think there's those thoughtful conversations and those conversations that went on around the dinner table and that you took your time. It was more methodical. You weren't able to Skype with somebody on the West Coast and then walk you around campus with FaceTime and show you their campus while sitting in your living room and say, we'll give you your campus tour and here it is, and then get done and say, are you going to, make a decision to come to XYZ? And to me, it seems like a difficult way to make a good decision, I think. And I think choosing the right school and going on into higher education, maybe playing sport, is a pretty important decision. I don't think it should be taken lightly or made quickly. Mm-hmm. I think it should be very thoughtful. And you should find the right fit for you as an individual. And I think it starts with the people. It's not about bricks and mortar. It's not about the nicest buildings and the nicest stadiums and the nicest workout areas. I think everybody enjoys those things, but I don't think that makes your experience. I think the people do. And you got to find the place that offers the people that have the right values, that match your value system, that you want to spend those 4 important years of your life with, who your teammates are going to be. There are people there you can make friends with, you want to socialize with, that you want to go through your experience with. Young people are making decisions and they haven't even been on the campus and met the other people in the program or even some of the coaches, and they're making their commitments over Twitter or sending a text message or an email or whatever. And the rules are changing now that we're going to be able to have less contact with these kids sooner, but yet everybody's going to want to go through and at the pace of recruiting that it is today. And now they can't even come on your campus till August before their junior year. And so, but yet we're still going to recruit 15 and 16-year-olds. So it's a crazy process, and I try to tell young people all the time, you control the recruiting process at what speed it's going to go at. Mm-hmm. Because if you're good enough, and if somebody really wants you in their program, they'll wait till you're ready to make a decision. Mm. And I think what happens today, there's people that threaten young people saying, well, if you don't decide in the next 24 hours, then I'm going to give your opportunity to the next person down the road.
You don't want to go there then anyway.
And that's my saying. And if that's really how quickly they want you to make a decision, are they really looking out for your best interests? Are they really interested in having you in your program? They're just trying to gather talent. They want the recruiting process to be over for the coach because that's easier for him. Move on to the next guy.
Right.
And so I think we've made I think this generation or the young people today made a big mistake, is that they've been threatened by the fact that either, if I don't say yes, won't have that opportunity, which I don't believe, because if you're really good enough, people will wait for you. But and I think that's presented a problem. And number 2, I think social media. Kids making commitments to schools, all of a sudden it's up on Twitter and
you're somebody now.
I'm somebody now. Look at me. I got this opportunity. And then the other young man or woman sitting here going, well, when am I going to get recruited? Where's my opportunity? I'm way behind. Yeah. All these other people are committing. So it's I think it's a very slippery slope and very difficult to manage. And I think sometimes you got to push the pause button and just take a deep breath and sit back and try to slow the process down. And I've never, in my 37 years as a head coach anyway, I've never offered a kid an opportunity in this program and told me he had 24 hours to decide.
Wow.
Because to me, it's too important of a decision. I want young people that want to be here because they believe in our purpose, they believe in our why, they think this institution can impact their lives, our program can. We can help them get the most out of their God-given abilities, and if we're not good enough for them, then go someplace else. And I just don't think we should threaten kids or force kids into making that important decision, because it's supposed to be about higher education and learning and growth and getting a degree, and we're supposed to be teaching values and mentoring young people. And I think right now we've gone completely in the opposite direction. It's just a business, and whoever can accumulate the most talent. You got to understand, there's coaches making a lot of money today, mm-hmm. and so their worlds are turned upside down, because if I can just keep this job one more year, I can make a lot more money. And so they're caught as well, that they just got to keep accumulating talent because they want to maintain the career that they have going, the income that they have. And so I think money's been the big driver behind this. You mentioned when you walked in here, Dave, the facilities,
Are
the Athletes Village, unbelievable. And so the cost of success keeps going up, and so everybody keeps going faster and faster to accumulate talent, to run the enterprise. People are getting paid a lot more money than they used to, and so that's driving some of this early recruiting, in my opinion. And we've gotten away from really what college athletics was about, and it's become a business, and the business part of it is not pretty, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, literally, if I closed my eyes and I came into this conversation right when you said, you give a guy 24 hours to decide, that's the kind of thing that I'll run into when you're playing in professional hockey.
I can understand that. It's a
legit.
business.
Absolutely. But that's like you'll get offers from teams that say, okay,
sure,
you're offered on a Monday, you got till Friday.
Right.
Yeah.
Because then we're moving on to the next guy. But that's professional.
Right.
This is college athletics. This is NCAA. Right. Like you said, it's about more than that. And I think that we've run into, like you said, expectations and quick ones. You have this crazy turnover with coaches. So they have a year, they have 2 years to put a product or a result. And if they don't, they're done.
There's a lot of pressure on their side of it too. And I think
and that's what happens. And then people start, they start recruiting a little less prepared student athlete to come to college because they got to win right now.
Right. Right.
They start cutting corners, and you start doing some things you probably shouldn't be doing because you're trying to accumulate talent to keep your job. And you don't hear about coaches that get fired not necessarily they have good academic records, their kids graduate, they have great experiences,
right.
They do all those things, but they still get fired because they didn't win enough. And
and the turnover rate is faster, or it's crazy now. It's like the wild, wild west out there to a certain extent in the college coaching world.
Yeah, you look at me, I've been at the same institution for 37 years. That doesn't happen anymore. No. So some reasons our people are trying to get in the marketplace and improve their opportunities and chances. Right. And, Rob Fornacier just retired. He was with me for 33 years, right. And we've been the longest tenured head coach and assistant coach last year in college baseball. Wow. that spent that time together.
That's awesome.
But I think we had similar values. We understood how we wanted to go about the recruiting piece. We understood kind of program that we wanted to have here at the University of Minnesota, and we had certain values, and we weren't willing to throw our personal values away or the values we believe we wanted to run our program by just to get one more kid.
Right. And
we just chose not to do that. And so we said, well, if Joey doesn't want to come, then we'll find somebody else that does. And also, I've never been told by the athletic director or president of the school that came down here and says your shortstop's hitting 220, so you got to get rid of him because we got to win more games. We're paying you a lot of money. Right. We built this $40 million stadium. We got to fill it. I've never had somebody come down and tell me that if you don't get to Omaha next year, you're going to get fired. And that's probably one of the reasons, probably the biggest reason why I've stayed here as long as I have, because I think the value system of this university matches my own.
Yeah.
And I haven't been forced to get down that road and get rid of people because everybody makes mistakes in recruiting. Nobody's perfect. Right. You can't project every kid you recruit out perfectly, and it's impossible to do that. It's not a perfect science, and everybody is made choices that didn't work out. Right. But to me, I made a commitment, just like that young man made a commitment with the information I had at the time. And if he comes here and works his tail off and goes to class and doing his part academically, he's a good teammate, he's made a commitment to the team, cares about other people in the program, then why should I run him out of the program? Yeah. It's as much my fault as it is his fault.
Yeah.
So maybe I should get run out of the program because I chose him.
Right. And
so why should we take it out on the young man? We thought he was going to be somebody else. Well, it hasn't worked out that way for a lot of reasons. And so I just feel like that's what's happened here. It's just easy to get rid of your mistakes. Diversion of blame is a big part of our society today. And as I hear from other coaches in our world, well, John, it's just a business deal. It's a big deal. We got to find players that can play. And I say I hope we haven't gotten there, but I believe we have. And if I have to go down that road, then I'll retire. I'm not going to go down that road, and I've chosen not to go down that road. Right. And we'll keep working at it. We had a lot of guys that were on our team last year that ended up in the super regionals and top 10 in the country that you're going to be recruited by a lot of other people. So we'll find guys that want to be here, that want to work at it every day, believe in our why, and we think we do a pretty good job in player development, and we'll find guys that want to be here and try to make players out of them, see what happens. And lots of times they might have a little less ability, but because they want to be here and they're willing to put in the work, they're internally motivated, you get more out of them than some of the guys that have a little more physical ability.
Well, you had touched on a lot on human connection and the demise of human connection that we have, and but with that, and I agree. And so when you're talking about, you know, wanting to sign a guy, or you ask a guy on a Monday, you have till Friday, right? And you're saying, like, we need to get to know the people, but in the same time, to get to know the player that can fit the culture. How are you finding ways, because you have been able to still sustain human connection? So how are some of the things that we can kind of pass that on, or what are the things that you've seen in your years that keep that at the forefront of culture and mentorship?
Well, first of all, this is a relationship-driven business.
Yeah.
And until I can build a relationship with the young people that are in this program based on trust and honesty, that I can get to understand them as people and learn about their families and their backgrounds and hobbies and their experiences in life, they're not going to trust me. Mm-hmm. They want to know that I care about them more than just whether they can throw strikes or they can hit 330 or whatever it's going to be. They want to know that you honestly care about me. And I think that's true in this. It always has been true, and I don't think that part's changed.
Right.
Kids want to know that you care.
Right.
They don't care how much you know. They just want to know you care.
Yeah.
And are you going to be here even when I'm hitting 220, or are you going to bail out on me and move on to the next guy because I'm hitting 220? So it's a relationship-driven business, and I think if you study the successful organizations, sport, business, whatever, what you'll see, in my opinion, is you'll see organizations that the relationship piece is very, very strong. I think one of the most important things you can do is take the time to get to know the people in your organization, spend some time to understand them and where they come from and what their backgrounds are, and then start to build a relationship based on trust and honesty. And until the kids feel like you're really looking out for my best interest, not your own, not your own contract, not your own paycheck, not your own one-loss record, I think then you'll get kids to commit. They'll commit to doing it the way that you want to do it. They'll buy into the way that you want to teach. And then at some point, they don't want to let you down.
Yeah.
Because this guy really does care about me. He's
into
trying to impact my life.
Right.
He's not interested in me just because I'm a baseball player and I can help win some games so he can build his resume. He's really here because he wants to help me get the most out of my experience so I can prepare him for the next 50 years of his life. And I think that's what's missing in the recruiting process today, because it's going too fast. We don't take enough time to build a relationship, to understand who this person is, what he's about, what does he want to accomplish here. Is this the right place for him based on what he wants to do? Maybe he's not a good fit for this culture in our program because he wants this. I tell kids all the time, if you want to come here and you just care about baseball and you just want to win baseball games or play in the big leagues, this is the wrong place for you. Mm-hmm. This isn't the right place. We can help you get there, but going to class and doing your best academically is not negotiable.
Right.
Okay, we're not going to negotiate in that piece. So if you don't want to do that, then don't come, because this isn't a baseball factory. This isn't minor league baseball. Okay, we work really hard in baseball. We've had a successful program here. We've developed major league players here, but not at the expense of taking away their academic experience and earning a degree and preparing them for the next 50 years of their life. They're going to tell you to take your uniform off and go home someday, and you got to do something else, right? We all get told that, and some of us, can play longer than others do. But you still have to have something to do that's meaningful in your life. Have a purpose to get out of bed every day, and that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
And I'm not, and we're not trying to diminish our baseball experience, because we're very committed. We work very, very hard at it. But understand, to keep it in context for why we're here and what we're trying to do here, and so when we recruit, we're brutally honest with young people, and I try to paint a picture of this is who we are. This is what your experience is going to be like.
Yeah.
If this isn't for you, don't come, because we're not going to negotiate. And taking an interest in others is critical, and caring about the team more than yourself. 100%. And if you're not going to do that, you're not going to play.
Right.
I don't care how good you are.
So I had this conversation with a college coach over the weekend, and we were talking about in culture on a team, who builds the culture first, a coach or players? Does that make sense? More so of, because at the same time, you might get a guy for 5, even sometimes 6 max years, depending on injuries or whatnot, but they're only here for a short period of time. Whereas you've seen the tradition and you've seen the different ball player mentalities. where does the culture and the driven value, purpose driven, how does that come? Who does that come through first, and then who sustains it?
Well, I think first of all, as a head coach, I think you have to establish the expectations you have for people in your program. I think you have to set the tone for the value system and what you want to operate under, so the kids know what the way they're supposed to act and respond and go through their experience. I think it's important that you set minimal expectations. These are the minimal expectations we expect for people in this program.
I like that.
I don't like a lot of rules.
Right.
I don't believe in a lot of rules, but I think there has to be expectations for your behavior, how you're going to act and behave, how you treat other people, what your expectations are for people academically and socially. I think you have to have some expectations. I don't think they have to be complicated. But then I think more importantly, I think the most successful teams, and David can probably speak to this, are the teams where the leader of the team is the team itself. I don't think, as the head coach, if I have to spend all my time every single day leading the team, I'm going to wear out. I'm not going to have the energy for the things I should be dealing with and helping people either getting better as a person or as a player, or helping them find their way through life or whatever, or overcoming adversity in their life or whatever the question might be. So then I believe once you've established those expectations, then I think it's up to the team to decide what do they want for their set of expectations for each other. What value system do they want to set for themselves? Because they know a lot more of what's going on within their framework of the team before I find out. They're with each other. They're in the locker room. They go to class together. They're out socially together. They know what's going on. And long before I'm going to find out. And so, and eventually they have to establish what's acceptable for you to be a member of this team. And if they feel like going to class, and as I told you, that would not be negotiable, then when somebody's not in class, they have to confront that person and say, that's not who we are. That's not the expectations for somebody in this program. And I suggest you get to class. I had a real problem with people who had a roommate who never got out of bed and went to class. And you're his roommate. You know he's not going to class, and you didn't wake him up and try to get him out the door. Right. We want to have a good team. We need everybody to be eligible. We need everybody on the team. And so, and if he won't listen to you, then bring it to me, and I'll try to solve the problem and try to help you solve the problem. So taking an interest in somebody other than yourself, trying to be a leader, but once you establish those expectations, it's easy to create the expectations. It's easy to say this is who we're going to be. Right. It's hard to carry it out on a day-to-day basis, and you got to have some hard conversations sometimes amongst friends and teammates. And they got to hold each other accountable and responsible to those standards. And all of a sudden, I got to confront David because he's not doing what we're asking here. Right. And those become the hard conversations. It's easy to set them, but can you really hold your buddies and friends to those expectations?
Well, and if you do hold somebody to an expectation, now all of a sudden you got to live it, right? And that scares some people.
And that's why you better have some integrity.
Some people,
You better be walking the talk.
Yeah.
Don't challenge somebody else because they're going to come back after you if they know you're not walking the talk. So the eyes are. So you have to have people in the organization who are the strong leaders that have credibility. Right. They've earned the integrity piece, and that you can't take on because they are doing the right things. And so I've had players come to me and say, boy, it's really hard to hide around here.
They've actually said that?
Yeah. I said, there's always somebody paying attention to what I'm doing.
Imagine that.
Would you look at that?
I said, so if I'm in the weight room and I'm not working hard, somebody comes up to me and says, hey, that's not acceptable here. You got to give us a better effort than that. And because I had a player come up to my office one time and say, so-and-so's not working very hard in the weight room. And I said, okay. He's not meeting the standards you guys have set for yourselves down there, right? And I said, well, I can go down there and confront him. He's going to say to me, well, how would you know? You weren't here.
Oh, I love that.
Well, I don't like that some guy came in and was greasing on one of his teammates.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that. I'm going to, don't go to the coach and say so-and-so ain't working hard. Go in there and tell him yourself, you chump.
That's what I told him. I said, so I think it'd be more importantly if you and some of your teammates have seen the same thing, his behavior is not consistent with what we expect here, or you expect, then I suggest you get together in a nice way and just say, hey, we're trying to have a championship team here. We're trying to have a championship culture here, and that's not cutting it. Right. If you want to be a part of this team, we expect more from you. So that's why I say the leader of the team has to be the team itself. We as coaches can set expectations, but they may not be the ones the kids want.
Right.
They may not be what they want to take ownership of and be responsible for. So I have a purpose and a why and a mission statement and what the program's about. But every year we have a different team, different group of individuals, and we do a very interesting exercise called the value exercise. and we divide the team up into small groups, and each group has to come up with 5 team values, the values that they think that this team should be about. What do they mean? How do they see themselves in our program on a daily basis? And then they get their groups, they put them on the board, they get up and tell you what each one of these means and why they should be a part of our culture.
Yeah.
And then the next group gets up and we have all these values up. And there's some that are similar, they have the same ones. And then we have to whittle that group of 30 or 35 values down to 5. And so that's when the discussion gets really interesting.
Yeah, that's got to be
really
some discussion.
There's some hard conversations.
Yeah.
And it's I love to do it. It's fascinating to sit there and listen to them talk and negotiate.
Go back at it.
And go back at each other and fight over what's an important value in a good way.
Yeah.
And so it's a really, we have a deck of cards I got from a colleague of mine I worked with for 25 years, Rick Aberman. He created a value deck cards, 50 cards with 50 values on them. Got a little, says what each value means on it, and so we have them go through them, and they can use the cards. And they do a personal value exercise. They pick their own personal values. They start with 25, then get it 20 to 10 to 5, and then they have to write them down. They turn them into me because I want to know what their personal value system is. And I want to watch you go through your experience. I want to witness, are you living up to who you say, this is your ideal self? What's reality? How are you really living your life? Are you really staying connected to who you say you are? And when you get off base, are you self-aware enough? Or do you need others to get you back there? Right. And I keep those in a file, and I pull them out, and I keep them with me, and I want to know what this kid's personal values are. Yeah. And I want to see that he's living them out on a day-to-day basis. And that's a fascinating exercise. And so we go through that, and here's one from a few years ago. Oh yeah. I get them a sticker they put on the back of their phones.
There we go.
I wonder why.
So
they touching those things all day, every day.
That's an interesting. Mine's worn off from last year, and so now this is how we evaluate ourselves as a team. Are we living out our values on a consistent basis? And then we look every week. We go back and review the week and look for opportunities or things that portray that we're living out these values, and then also things where we're not. Right. We're not living up to it.
Right. Well, because that's what I'm saying.
If we do
they're
this,
just words, right?
It's just words.
They're just words.
It's easy to
that's
put
it.
Words up on the
wall.
wall.
Here's our values.
Pretty sayings and all these things. Can you walk the talk?
How are we being accountable? What are our triggers? What are we going to do to achieve these things? What are some barriers we're going to go through? Right. Because we can all go through and go, these are some fun buzzwords for the season.
Real easy when it's going good and you're winning and everybody's contributing.
We're so resilient, winning, family, but when shit hits the fan, and like we said, we start going like this, well, then what are the details behind those things? What have we discussed, practiced, talked about to make sure that those aren't just words, and that we can get a little bit deeper on it and have a better understanding? That's how it's going to stick. Right. Mm-hmm. And that's, I mean, I love that. It's a sweet deal.
Now it's theirs. It's not mine. I don't make up the words.
Yeah, you
because it's not my team.
No.
Right. Yeah.
No, I'll help them stay connected to those things. Right. I'll point out opportunities when I have them to say when they are fulfilling what they committed to, or when they aren't, or things we need to take a look at, or they get stuck. Yeah. And we got to have some of those hard conversations. And so let's either change our values, or change our behavior. Right. One or the other here.
Well, it's that self-creation that's going to make it stick. And you have a set of values.
Then they feel like they have ownership in the team. This is ours.
100%.
This is your team. Mm-hmm. And it's different every year, because you have different group of people in the room, and you can't do this. So you can have a broader mission statement, a purpose for what you want to achieve as a program here.
But I think
from a year-to-year basis, I think it has to be more clearly defined what this group wants to do. Everybody talks about winning and wanting to win the Big Ten, the national championship. For me, that's a given. That's why we're all here. We're all competitive. We all want to win. Right. I don't think anybody comes here and says, I hope we lose today. So I said, let's quit talking about winning. I don't want to talk about winning. That's a given. Let's just get it out there. That's a given. That's why we're going to work our tails off every day. That's why we're going to compete. Yeah. That's why we're going to be fundamentally sound, so we have a chance to win. But let's quit putting up, we're going to be Big Ten champions, and we're going to do this. Because what happens if your 3 best players get hurt? Now what are you going to do?
Well, then you can't control that. You can't control that result.
So we can control this.
Right.
This is controllable.
Right.
This is good. This is being a family, or being resilient, or committing to excellence in what you do every day. You can control that. Right. It doesn't mean you're going to win.
But it gives you a chance.
Yeah. It surely gives you a better chance.
Right. Well, and guess what? Those 5 words, that has nothing to do with baseball. or
Nothing.
sports.
No.
And that
It has
goes back
nothing
to
to do
the-
with baseball. That is what it goes back to, creating a
The mission.
solid foundation
Right.
upon which we can go beyond sports, and we can still use those same. You can go back and just look at those stickers and say, you know what, I can use those things every single day for my next thing, or for my family, or for my, my wife, my kids, or whoever.
The kids come back to us and they use these things in business when they get out in the world. They use them in their relationships with others. I've had people who are going to get married that went through the value exercise together to see what their
that is
values
Come
matched.
on.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you bet.
That is
Yeah,
awesome.
they come in and have a deck of those cards. I want to sit
That
down
is
with my
awesome.
fiance and we want to look at our value
Right.
system, and so
Oh, that's
then you
cool.
feel like you've had an impact on somebody.
Right.
That's impactful. We all love to win, and all those things are nice, but the most impactful thing is the relationship piece. And did you impact somebody where they can leave here and they've learned something they can apply to their lives to make them a better person?
And I want to jump back, because what you're saying there is really it's playing the long game, right? We're not sitting here looking for that immediate success. And you said it's important to have relationships, and it's important to learn your players why. Well, guess what? That ain't easy. And a lot of coaches have a tough time with that. They just like, no, man, I don't really care to get to know you. We're a super talented group. Let's just go out there and win. Well, it's taking the time to understand your players' why. I mean, that is a piece that takes effort,
Well,
and
even
it takes practice.
100%. Well, even thinking, how many guys come in at 18 who know their why?
They don't.
Right.
They really don't. They haven't even thought about it.
Right.
But once they start thinking about it, they start to figure out who they're all about,
Right.
what their why is. But they really have never sat down and really put some thought to it.
Yeah.
So again, I'm back to just make people think and try to throw some things at them to make them look at their world and what's going on and how can we make it better and some of those things. So, and I think the other thing that's hard in teams and organizations is especially at the age of 18-year-olds, 21-year-olds, is getting them to feel comfortable standing up and talking to one another,
Yeah.
and also being able to challenge other people's thinking in a good way, not a negative way, not attack them, but really understand we have different beliefs, different thoughts, we see the world differently, so we can have some of those unfiltered conversations where you can leave and you don't feel like this guy doesn't like me and that guy doesn't like me. That they're productive conversations that we have to sometimes disagree to agree, or at least to understand other people's viewpoints.
Right.
If everybody the same, it'd be boring.
Right.
It'd be really boring. So we have exercises all the time at the start of practice. We'll have an exercise where we'll have a certain theme or whatever it might be on a certain time. And the last thing we did this year and during the season was we had a symbol exercise. And so you had to come and bring a symbol or describe a symbol that would be helpful to how you wanted to see your team compete and perform and play. And they had to stand up in front of the group, and they had to give a presentation, and we do all kinds of exercises. Tell us something about your childhood. What was the most difficult thing you had to overcome in your life? Some simple things, but now kids have to stand up in front of the group and talk. And plus, you learn things about other people you would never have known.
Right.
You learn about their families, their siblings. They had a sister who had health problems, or all these different things come up, and you start the relation piece. You start to learn some things about your players, and the other players get to learn you'd never known. And then so when you get into these group settings where you're trying to do value exercises, they're very comfortable standing up and having conversations, expressing their opinions, and knowing they can express their opinion because your opinion's your opinion, and they're still going to be okay. No one's going to attack them. No one's going to think less of them. We may disagree. And so I think it starts with getting young people to communicate, verbally communicate, eye to eye, look you in the face, stand up in front of the group, and talk.
Get used to that discomfort.
It's really uncomfortable.
Get used to it.
When I say, okay, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to go through the whole team, and this is the exercise we're going to do. And there's
The
guys,
boys are sweating. They got some sweaty palms going.
Yeah.
We got some sympathetic nervous system here. We got a lot of chest breathing
But
up here.
after it gets going, they start having some fun with it, and they,
sure,
they have to laugh sometimes, and someone brings something humorous, and they start to find out, this is pretty interesting because I'm learning some things about some guys here I've never known before.
And you let the team build that personality that you're talking about.
Right, and that allows you, because I was going to ask you guys, we've all been on teams before, and I know it sounds good to be like, hold your teammates accountable. Tell him if he's not working hard, or tell him if it's not. But how many teams have you been on where you've actually witnessed that? Because I can tell you, it ain't many. Because we can all sit here and say, yeah, we need to have our leaders hold guys accountable, but it doesn't happen very often.
Right.
Have you been on many teams where you've had guys riding your ass? It's hard to do. I don't know. I haven't seen it often, and I think before we, I'm kind of answering.
That's why winning is so
Right.
hard. We
Well,
talked about success, how hard that is.
But if we
before
can
even press
increase
play.
the communication that you have with the players and touch on these issues and dive in, I believe that would make it easier. Because as you said, expectations are set. You've communicated the expectations, so now you have a much easier way to hold each other accountable and have that uncomfortable conversation with your roommate,
Right.
teammate, and friend.
The one you have to have.
So we had a historic season last year, and
Right.
one of the best of my career. And I'm all year long, I'm waiting for something to happen because we haven't had any problems. Everybody's bought into their role. They made a commitment to one another. Everybody's going to accept their role. They're going to be a good teammate, and we're going to pull for each other. All we care about is, we want to win some games and compete at the highest level. And I keep waiting for something to happen,
Yeah.
And we don't have any problems. And
It's rare.
They come to me and say, like for example, today they have a group chat, so they can constantly be sending out reminders about, we got this tomorrow at this time, or that tomorrow at that time. The bus leaves at 11 o'clock.
Yeah, kind of pulling it. Yeah.
Rather than the coaches doing it,
Right.
they take care of it. We don't put up lists to say when we go on a road trip, you guys got to get the bats and the balls and the extra gear to the bus, and you guys got to get it in the airport, and you got to get it off the airport into the next bus. We tell the guys, here's the stuff, guys. It's got to
figure
get
it
from
out.
there to there to there to there, and figure it out. I don't care who does it. You guys figure it out.
Oh, I love
and if
it.
something doesn't get
Yeah.
there, I'm holding you all accountable.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be the same guys all the time. It shouldn't be the freshmen. Everybody should pitch in, pick up a bag, and do their part. And they do. We never have a problem. I said, you guys we want to get the gear to the field? Better figure it out. I'm not going to take my time to make lists.
Right.
It's a waste of time.
Right.
This is your organization. It's your team. You guys figure it out. And if it doesn't get there, then we'll come down. I'm coming down on all of you.
Yeah. It's kind of
The hammer's dropping on all you.
Well,
What
so,
did, Tony-
so we're teaching them responsibility.
Yeah.
We're teaching them accountability, learn how to work together as a group, figure things out.
Right.
So and that's what we do. We don't. They come in and say, what's the schedule? We have practice change because of weather. They'll come in. What's the schedule? I'll send it out to the guys. Don't waste your time doing it. We'll take care of it.
And
So-
through that, you cultivate leaders. The leaders rise to the top of that after years of knowing
in any
that.
organization, there's going to be stronger leaders than others.
Right.
Right.
And all we ask, if you don't want to be a strong leader, at least be a good follower. Don't get in the way.
Mm-hmm.
Do your part to be a member of this team. That's fine. Some
Yeah.
lead by example. Some are a little more vocal. Some are more engaged. And so and it's hard, as you said, Dave. It's really hard to build that culture in a team. It doesn't happen very often.
No.
We had a special group. It was unbelievable culture we had last year within our team, and we probably achieved more than our true ability was talent-wise because of the culture.
Well, and it's super neat to get to the point where I played with a coach too. That said, he read this Phil Jackson book. We won a championship with him in Florida, and he was like, honestly, Fish, the best teams that I coach are the ones I don't really have to.
Yep.
And it's cool because I think obviously you have to communicate these expectations and you have to practice your standards. But once you kind of get on that roll, it's hands off. Then
Yeah.
you just kind of let it go. If you can get the snowball to where you want it to be and get it going and push it, then you start to learn. I think it's important in any sort of season, you have to go through a stretch where you win. I mean, I don't really like the win one, lose one, win two,
No,
lose
I
two.
agree.
You
No.
have to put a good month together where it's like this is how we win. And then you learn that, and you learn how you do that, not just from performing, but through all the off-field stuff too, off the field stuff,
And all the intangibles. that
all
go
the
into that.
intangibles.
Yep.
And then you can get back into it, and then you're just in your mo. Then you're in the zone. Coach is off a little bit. Boys are rolling. Accountability. Just everything kind of comes together, and that's when it's fun. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. That's why we play sports,
Right.
because that's like the good stuff, man. I'm getting goosebumps just think.
The clubhouse is
Yeah,
vibing.
man. Because the boys have put the work in. The standard's been set. Everybody's, practicing what they preach. We're winning games. It's like then when you can get to that point, then it's like it's easy for the coach, it's easy for the players, and that's the fun stuff. And you just roll.
Yeah,
That's
but
why some people say, well, if you win, you have a good clubhouse, or you have
Right.
a good locker room, or
Totally.
whatever. But you got to win.
You got yeah.
Well,
so you got
that's
to do a
what
lot
I-
of work to have an opportunity to win. Now, you're right. When you do win, the
Everyone's
clubhouse,
happy.
the locker
It's
room
vibing.
really improves.
Yeah.
Sure.
Everybody's happy. Things are going good. But I don't think you just get there by showing up and it happens automatically.
No.
Well,
You
so
got to lose
unless
some
you
too.
you got more talent than anybody in the world.
Right.
It's rare.
Well, so that's what I
Okay,
was
so
going
the
to ask.
question, I beg the question, why don't the most talented teams always win? You've seen talented teams that haven't won. And it's not because they don't have talent. It's because they don't have the intangibles. They don't have the culture. They don't have the guys aren't committed to one another. You know, they aren't all on the same side of the rope, pulling the same direction. And that's why I think if you can create that culture, you can win probably more than you should. And you can beat the team with the most talent.
Mm-hmm.
So how important? So now flip it on its head. A losing team. You got a losing clubhouse. What are some of the ways that you've learned in the past of maybe I'm in a losing stretch? How do you decrease a slump as a coach? How do you kind of control or corral the boys to decrease the slump? Because that also has had to have happened multiple times in your career. So
No
what
question. Yeah, that's always the hard one. I think the mistake I made as a young coach is you got angrier, you tried harder, you pushed the guys harder, and by the end of that, they were so removed for wanting to even play for you or even be in the same room with you. You weren't getting anywhere, and I think what happens is then I think if you can stay the same, you can create the same culture, and you can treat the players the same regardless if you're winning or losing. And put your emphasis on let's continue to uphold our values. Let's make sure we come each day and try to improve and get better.
Right.
Try to look at our weaknesses and see if we can't do something here to improve in that area. And let's get off the scoreboard. Let's get off the standings. Just pay attention to the daily process. Are we making a commitment to the daily process in a way that we should here in terms for us either to improve or for us to reach our potential here? It's all about the decisions and the commitments we're making on it. And so let's put our energy into evaluating our daily process and then put our energy in doing a better job of carrying it out. And I think if you can do that, then you can start to move away from maybe playing poorly, play more fundamentally sound. You got people that are more connected to the process. You know, they're more locked into what goes on at practice every day. I think you just get sloppy. You just lose a commitment to the daily process. You lose a commitment to executing the fundamentals. You don't communicate as well. You know, people get in these little small groups and they start complaining about these guys over here and these guys over there. Other than if you got a problem, stand up. Let's get it on the table. What's the problem with who? What's going on here?
Yeah.
Or you know, I should be playing more than this guy, and that's what creates. In my opinion, that's when you start to lose. And it's hard to get out of those cycles. And so, anytime you got everybody in their own little groups complaining about each other, good luck, because that's a tough one. And you got to stop that, and that's a hard one to stop when it gets away. And that's why it's really important that you establish those standards and expectations, and you have people in that clubhouse, in that locker room, that are going to hold people to that standard. If you don't, then that's what's going to happen.
How long? This is just a curious because we're young coaches to a really certain extent what we're trying to do here, but. How hard was it early in your career, and it's got to still be hard now to maintain that consistent base of even-keeledness?
No question, it's really hard.
Right.
And that's why I worked with the professional 25 years ago, because I'll be honest with you, in the middle 90s I was probably about ready to crash and burn.
Yeah.
My thinking was entirely different than it is today. I was all about trying harder, get rid of these guys. You know, these guys aren't any good. Give me other guys that can play, you know, blah, blah, blah. And, blame and complain about everything. We don't have a good enough facility. We don't have good enough players. They don't support us. You know, the umpires are against us.
Yeah, everything.
Everything is going bad. And so when I met Rick Aberman, it was really helpful to me that he could help me become a better leader so I could see the world better in terms of how I was impacting our team in a negative way, holding them back from reaching their potential just based on how I was acting and behaving in my own world that I didn't even realize.
Right.
So when I first met him, I said, I want you to come and get my team to play better. And he goes, well, that's a good concept. We'll get there. But we got to start with you. I got to figure out what the leader's doing here. And he said, I got to come and watch and observe and see what you're doing and how your actions and behaviors are affecting others. And I said, me? Oh, no, not me.
Yeah.
I'm
that's
fine.
Not why I called you.
That's
not why I called you.
That was a scary proposition.
Hey, Rick.
Yeah,
That's not what we talked about.
That was a scary proposition, but we did get there, and it was difficult. But he helped me become more self-aware. He pointed out some of the things that were impacting our team and why we probably didn't reach the level we could in certain times, and how I was probably sabotaging the performance of our team at different times, and then we started to after that started to take some of those concepts of leadership and emotional intelligence, and we started teaching it to our team.
Wow.
25 years ago that started?
Yeah. And be honest with you, it's taken about that long for me to really get my arms around all of it.
Wow.
So then I'm telling the team, you got to manage your impulses to act, and you can't be yelling and screaming at the officials, because it's not going to help you play better, because your attention now is away from what it should be, and that's executing the next play, and instead you're all upset about the umpire, and you're emotionally you're a mess, and you can't make good decisions under pressure when you're emotionally a wreck. And so here I am in the dugout after trying to teach these guys, screaming at the umpire and acting crazy and going after him. And finally one of the players walks down to me and says, "Coach, I just want you to know you're really not helping us right now.
No way.
There's all these young guys down the end of the bench. They think this is really bad right now because of the way you're acting.
Yeah.
And they don't think there's any way we can overcome the adversity we're facing right now based on, because you're the leader. They're watching the leader.
It's your emotion.
They're going to act and respond the way you do to adversity and stressful situations. And I had no idea how I was acting.
Yeah.
But we're trying to teach this stuff, and we're talking about this, and this stuff Rick's trying to help me with. I had no idea. Finally took a deep breath and I said, you know what, he's right. So after the game was over, got the team together after the game, and I said, guys, I want you to know I have to apologize to you because I didn't help you today. I was out of control. I'm sorry. Mark came down to me, pointed it out to me, tried to get myself in a better place, and I'll keep working on it, try to do a better job next time. But it was a teachable moment for me.
100%.
So now you can see how
100%.
our body language, just your body language alone, not just what you say, just your body language alone. People read your body language. He's pissed. He's upset.
And now
he's angry.
Intense. Yeah.
Or he doesn't think that we can overcome the adversity in front of us. Just look at his body language.
Oh gosh, I've played for some. Yeah, I've had.
Well, having that humility is endearing. It's like,
100%.
oh man, like, because how many times? I mean, we're in the sports world. You deal with a lot of egos. You got big ones, man. We're supposed, kind of that quote unquote. I don't like kind of the the modern day gladiator. Like not just what I mean, like athletes. And so you got these big egos, and so if you see anybody, whether it is a teammate or especially a coach, be like, guys, I blew it today, man. I'm sorry. Like that's like you can get behind that because that's an honest moment.
Well,
asking for help in competitive athletes and competitive people, asking for help is a sign of weakness.
Yes.
When it should be a sign of strength.
Yes, the
And
vulnerability.
trying to get people to change that thinking who are competitive, that's hard.
Right.
That's hard. Try harder, do more. Instead of taking a look at where you are, trying to find a different way, slowing down here.
Right.
Maybe taking the day off instead of taking 100 more swings would probably be better for you to get some balance in your life.
Amen to that. Well, I think a lot of
I was completely in a different world,
Yeah.
and so now people look at me, they don't think I care. But I don't show a lot of emotion.
Right.
Trying to be consistent and steady, and my wife and daughter say to me all the time, how come you don't show any emotion? I said, I do. There's a lot of emotion, but I'm trying to maintain a certain presence here and stay consistent in the way I respond to the highs, the lows, the in-betweens. And so some people look at it as, well, he doesn't care. He never shows, he doesn't show any emotion.
Right.
I pick my points in times, but I really try not to show any negative emotion.
Right.
So I have kind of changed the way that I go about it. People have noticed it. And so... again, self-awareness. Everybody needs help with self-awareness. I had no idea. Mark DeVore came down to me, and we told our team. I told them at the time, nobody's off limits. I'm not off limits. If I'm acting and behaving in ways that aren't consistent with what we're trying to do here, you got to come and tell me.
It's free game.
And I give that kid credit because that took some courage to walk down the middle of the game and say, hang on a second here.
No doubt.
You're really not helping us right now.
You're kind of driving us.
So I understand what you're trying to teach us, and right now you're not acting in the way that you want us to act.
Well, and for those who don't know, Rick Averman, I've had a pleasure to meet him a few times. He works with the Minnesota Twins as well, right?
Yes.
And so what are some of the things, and this has been obviously a long journey, but what are some of the things that you can kind of bestow on us that you have practiced self-awareness-wise, or that Rick has taught, and it doesn't necessarily have to stay into that own world of what peak moment got you, but what are some things that you can do?
Well, I think first and foremost, I think when you look at human experience, you got your what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and what are you doing? What's your goal? So if I'm trying to drive into work today and some guy tries to run me off the road, and my goal is to get to work safely, it's probably not wise that I speed up and chase this guy down, and he might have a gun in his car and shoot me. So you got to take a deep breath. You know you didn't like it. The guy ran you off the road. You're upset. Got to pause, take a deep breath, and say, okay, what am I thinking? I'd like to kill this guy. You know, who does he think he is? You know, so what are you feeling? I'm upset. You know, and what you're and what are you trying to do? I'm trying to get to work safely. Well, okay, I better choose differently here. So let's take a deep breath, pause. How should I respond to this negative stimuli or this negative event that's going on? The umpire misses the 2-2 strike you thought you threw with the bases loaded in the last inning, and you're all upset, and now you got 20 seconds to throw the next one where you still got a chance to get out of the inning. So if you don't find a way to respond in a positive way and to get yourself reset, to move on, to get your focus and attention on executing the next pitch, there's no way you're going to do it. It might happen 1 out of 10 times. And so again, I think more importantly, it's to try to help young people understand how their emotional world impacts human performance. It's not just about having talent, and it's just not about working harder, and it's not just about doing more, because I see many kids that are great in practice, but as soon as the game lights come on, the game speeds up. They can't manage their experience. They can't handle the adversity. They can't reset themselves and refocus. One at-bat leads to another bat to another bat because they can't get unstuck. And so you got to teach them how to get unstuck, how to refocus, how to reset, get ready for the next opportunity, or you make the last out of the inning, you got on defense, the guy hits the first ball to you, you're still upset because of the at-bat, you kick that ball, and so trying to teach young people how to manage their experience, not only in baseball, but in their lives. I've had kids tell me they go and take tests and how they've learned to slow when they get anxious in there and the exam gets to how to slow it down and take a deep breath and reset themselves. And so you're teaching skills to do that. So I think more importantly, the self-awareness piece has helped me to understand, to pause and take a look at what am I thinking, what am I feeling, what am I trying to do here, and then try to make a good choice for how you're going to respond to that stimuli. And just that part alone, you start teaching that to young people, and it has nothing to do with the fundamentals of your swing, your pitching delivery, but it has a big impact on your performance. And
it's a very stoic approach. I mean, Coach Anderson is kind of the modern day baseball stoic. It's not like we don't have to define these things, and we don't have to let these events I like to use the term take away your power. An ump blows a call, or if you're a player, a coach is on you, or you blow a game. Well, don't let that outside stimulus, like you said, take away from your power, because you have it. You know, we always like to use that sort of Venn diagram. You have your stimulus and you have your reaction, and in between there's your choice. And that's where we practice our values. And it's that middle piece. If you practice it consistently and have the self-awareness, okay, we don't have to define or define what this event is super negative or super positive. It just is. I don't like to use the term "it is what it is," but don't immediately just be like, just take a beat. Don't get yourself too high or too low. Let's just stay right here.
We have a saying, so what, next pitch?
So what?
So what, next pitch? Don't take away from who you are. And
do not let it take your power away, man.
So maintain your power and your belief in yourself. Don't let that guy take it away from you.
Do not let him take it away from you.
They're not perfect. They're not going to make all the right calls. No. You can't control those things. Those are out of your control. You can control your own human experience if you pay attention and you move on. So what, next pitch?
So what?
I trust myself. I'm good enough to execute the next pitch. I'm going to get the next guy out. And it sounds easy.
It's super hard.
It's really hard to do.
Well, how do you use because you almost, when a guy's doing really well or having success in any world, but staying here in baseball, and they say, well, I just don't care. But they do, they care. We use that term all the time. Well, just don't care as much. Like, there is a lot of importance.
Have a bit of a not give a shit factor.
Yeah, but how do we have a bit of that? What's a better way of? I don't even. Yeah. What's a better way of saying? I think
more importantly for me is many competitive athletes, many people that play sport tend to define themselves as a person based on how well they perform.
Oh yeah.
If I don't perform good today, I'm a bad person.
Yeah.
Nobody loves me.
Yeah.
You know,
It defines their
I have
existence.
no place in the world.
Yeah. I deserve
got nothing
nothing.
else to do because I pitched poorly today, so now I'm a bad person.
That happens to a lot.
No one's going to like me. No one cares about me. No one's going to want to talk to me.
Right.
And so we work really hard with our young people to try to convince them baseball's a game you play because you love playing it.
Right. Right.
Okay? So have fun playing, enjoy playing it. Shouldn't have anything to do with defining who you are as a person.
Yeah.
It might be something you like to do, but it shouldn't define your life
No.
on whether you're happy or sad or successful.
It's
And-
it's too thin.
And the people that define their lives based on how they perform athletically, oh boy, and that's a roller coaster ride, and that's a hard one. And the people that can say, you know, I play the game, I'm competitive, I want to do my best, I want to play the game as long as I can, but at the end of the day, regardless of what happens, I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to be
You need to
okay
put some freedom.
because there's more to me as a person
Right.
than just the baseball player,
Right.
the hockey player.
Right.
Again, sounds easy, really difficult. And that's when the expectations people have for themselves, what other people's expectations
Right.
are for their son or daughter,
Right.
comes into play.
Right.
Or they want to play the game at the next level so bad that it becomes their definition as a person. So we try to teach people that to take a look at yourself, and there's so many other things about you
Right.
that are wonderful things that define you in a more consistent, that are more important
And,
than
and
whether you're a
that's
good
got
baseball
that's
player.
got to come a lot from the influencers, though.
Yeah.
You know, because they're the ones that ultimately a lot of people, if they do poor in sports, feel like they let a lot of people down.
Do you think the advisor cares how well you're doing in school?
No.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Or how was your family dinner?
Yeah. I think he cares more about how you're going to put some bread on my table here.
Yeah. How's
You
your
gotta
Twitter
perform
look?
better. So, when you talk about that, what you're talking about, I think it comes down to trying to young people understand that don't allow your sports performance to define who you are
Love
as a
it.
person. And I tell parents all the time, you want to help your son or daughter, they're going through a tough time, don't talk to them about sports. Don't talk to them about baseball. Tell them you love them. Talk about other things.
Yeah.
But
Connect
don't
with
keep talking about their sports experience when it's not, especially it's not going very well. You know, make sure they understand that you're going to love them regardless of what happens
Right.
out there.
them. Well, then you're going to get a poor reaction, too, if you
Yeah.
start barking down someone's tree who's
Well,
struggling.
I always like to look at it, you have a foundation of purpose or how you see yourself. And if that's, like you said, completely reliant on how you're performing as an athlete, you're tipping, man, or that rug is getting pulled out hard on you. And then what? If you got this right here has got to be like this. And that foundation comes, like you said, from building things outside of the sport. Because guess what? You take care of those things as well, who you are as a person, how, what you do in the morning, how you do in school, how you treat your friends, how you treat your family. Do you have other interests? That is going to serve you well on the field too.
The more balanced, the
More
more
balanced.
good things you have going on in your life, the better you're going to do on the sports field. We have a question. This might be a question we use sometime in our group settings. It said, "Okay, why do you play baseball?
Why?
Why do you play? Why do you do this every day?
Yeah.
What are you here? Why are you here?" So that's one of the questions I asked the freshmen on the recruiting process. Else they come here. I said, "Okay, now you're here. Why are you here?
Yeah.
What do you want to do?
Now you're on campus.
And
Why do you play baseball?
and
Why do
that's
you want to practice every day for?"
and some people don't know how to answer that
Some
question.
will look at you like, "Geez, I never thought about that."
Such
I
a
don't know,
simple
Coach. I
question,
just
but
been-
it just
And
stops.
some are they're like, "Well, it's because I want to play in the big leagues." And I said, "Well, okay, but let me tell you, there's a lot of things you can't control that are going to have an impact on
Right.
whether you get there."
Right.
So I suggest you eliminate that one
Right.
because you can't control that.
100%.
So I think you start focus on playing the game and trying to control the things you can around playing the game, and that's because you like to play. And
Well-
you're going to work as hard as you can to be the best player, and whatever happens, I'll be okay.
100%.
I have something else I can do. There's other things about me as a person that I can do and I can share with others. So
I think
And
that segues.
It segues into kind of another thing that we try to do is kind of that transitional athlete and getting them wise on some of the skills and values that they have created, practice, acquired during their sports, and getting them aware of how use those same skills as you transition out of sports.
Right.
Don't you, like you said, it's not all performance based. Use those same, hard work, good teammate, competitive. The list goes on and on.
Mm-hmm.
But take those, be like, okay, it's not over. I have worked years to develop these traits, values, and skills. Let's use those for the next thing, and not feel like, oh man, it's over. I'm screwed. I'm depressed.
think it's really hard for people that play a long time to transition out of the sport. Even people that play through the high school level.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I'm not going to have an opportunity to play anymore. What do I do now? Mm-hmm. It's way too important to me. I haven't planned for life after.
Right.
And so I think it's really, really critical. And I think we can use sport to teach those skills if we keep it in perspective.
Yeah, the platform is
because that's what we're here for, and that's what we're trying to. This is about learning and growth, and there's lots of lessons that we can teach that you can apply to your life on the baseball field if we keep it in perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Keep it out in front of us.
I think also at the same time, it is hard because you leave sport. I mean, I played till I was 26, and you look at that when you get out of it. Everyone, for the most part, your conversations revolve around the sport you're playing. If you play for a really long time. Right, and you get out of that, and it's like it's not necessarily kind of people kind of don't know how to talk to you for like the first like month or two. They don't know what to ask you.
So what are you doing now?
Yeah, what's going on now?
And that's a question that sucks.
Oh yeah, but I think
it's
so.
Comfortable.
One of the beauty things is we let's run coach through the series real quick. And so essentially, one of the things we've worked on, what you're talking about, and we start with why as well. But I don't know, Davey, how much you've touched on. But the Diamond Series, Baseball Diamond, there's a segue of that. Mm-hmm. We try to think of as the Diamond Series as a formula sustaining identity, giving you a platform for wherever you're at to ask yourself questions. For the word you use a lot,
foundation building.
Awareness. Yeah, having the awareness by asking yourself questions. Here's the way we do it. Start at home plate. Looks different than all the other bases, which is why it's most important. What's your purpose?
What's your why?
You go down to first base, and once you have your purpose driven, you kind of set yourself up to develop your standards, which are your choices.
Values.
Once you have the standards and the values done, now all of a sudden we can get into creating some goals, some habits, routines, some process, figuring out your triggers, if you will.
Our systems, yeah.
And then finally coming through, there's the beauty, the excitement, the big leagues, if you will, your vision. What's your vision here?
The carrot out front.
Which is awesome, but if you guys get to where you were at this year, which was a game away from Omaha, which is tremendous, but at the same time, everyone in the locker room still has Omaha as the vision. But you don't get there unless you can control and nail, and you guys did a phenomenal job. But take away from the team aspect, what's Coach got for that? And we're going to hammer in on just specifically yourself. When you look at yourself and you start at home plate, what's Coach's purpose here as a coach, as a man, as a father, mentorship, all those things along those lines?
What's your why?
Yeah.
Well, my why basically is I'm trying to prepare people for the next 50 years of their life. I want to be a strong mentor to young people I coach. I want to help teach them life lessons. So basically, I'm trying to prepare people for the next 50 years of their life, and I'm going to use obviously their involvement in our baseball program and their experience at the University of Minnesota to do that. So that's my purpose. That's why I'm here. I'm not here just to win games. I'm not here to be the winningest coach in all time or anything like that. And probably a segue to that is I want to build meaningful relationships that are going to last the rest of my life. Mm-hmm. These young people, I want to be able to have a connection with them when they leave this program. That's meaningful.
Yeah.
That they want to stay connected, and I want to stay connected because we've built a relationship that means something to us.
Boom. Well, so now
awesome.
It's a clearly defined purpose.
Yeah, love it.
But it comes into to play a lot of accountability in the standards that you've set in order to be and make a meaningful impact on these players and these athletes and these young men that you're with. Coach Anderson has to have a pretty strong set of standards he set for himself. Something that you have cultivated, you've learned, you've changed, you've tweaked, and some things that have stayed the same. So when we move down to first base, your standards and the set of values that you have in place to keep your purpose rock solid, what are some things that you key in on?
Well, I think first and foremost, I'm a big believer in integrity and living my life with integrity, being able to walk the talk and back up what I say I'm going to do and what I commit to young people. So integrity is a big piece. Honesty, trust, really important to me. I'm big on family, however you want to look at that, but I'm big on family. I like relationships and families and people who, and in families it's really important because in families we don't throw each other away when we have problems.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
We try to help each other. That's why families are important, because you need your family when you're struggling the most. Mm-hmm. And so family's really important to me. I think motivation, I look at motivation, more internal motivation. I really feel like I want to embrace my world and my experience and be motivated I want to create the motivation. I want to be motivated by somebody else having to motivate me, or money, or fame. My motivation needs to be driven from within. That's driven by my purpose. That I'm going to get up in the morning and go on and do my thing based on the fact that this is something that I want to do. That's important to me. That's my motivation. And maintaining a growth mindset. I think it's important as we go through life. We don't think we have it all figured out. You maintain that rather than having that set mindset, you have that growth mindset where you can adjust and adapt and change. And I'm not coaching the same way now as I was 30 years ago.
Right.
I've learned so much more. It's taken me 20 years just to figure some of this stuff out. And so I've tried to maintain a growth mindset. And I tell players all the time, come in the office. If there's something you don't agree with what we're doing here, you think we should be running bunt defense differently, or we should be running the drill differently, or you see something in this program that you think is there's a better way to do it, come on in and talk to me about it. I don't have all the answers. Right. And so I've tried to maintain a growth mindset, I think, as part of staying connected to my values. And my values will shift a little bit just based on where I'm in life and what I'm going through. But I just want to make sure I put my head on the pillow at night, that I know that I can honor the commitments I made to young people, that I can maintain some integrity, and they know that what I tell them is the way it's going to be. And it's hard at times, especially in this world today we live in recruiting. It's really hard to maintain your integrity if you're going to start down that slippery slope. And I think that's the one thing that's helped me, is the fact that I've stayed connected to that value and what I believe who I want to be as a person. And so it's not easy all the time. It's challenging at times. It gets challenged all the time. But I feel strongly about it. And I think that's why it's important that we know who we are, what our values are. We have a place where we can go and look at them once in a while and make sure we have a tough decision to make, that we go back to our value system. And awesome. We try to make decisions based on that, and then be open to learning and growth and hearing other people's opinions. And I tell our team all the time, some guys watch you play and they have an opinion about what they see in terms of either your performance or how you go about your daily process, and be open-minded. If they got something to offer you, first of all, I tell our kids, ask them if they're ready. Are you ready for some information? I think I got something might be able to help you. Don't go up to some kids right after they struck out 3 times, because they're generally not ready.
Right.
They don't want to hear from anybody.
Yeah.
So you try to find a point. You try to find the point when they're ready.
Yeah.
And then, when you're ready, I have some information that might help you. And I tell players, be open-minded. Don't be disrespectful if someone's trying to help you. They might not have the right answer, but at least they care about you. They're hoping you keep failing so they can take your position. Be thankful that they care enough to take the time to try to help you. But so I think it's important that we maintain a growth mindset, and we stay open-minded, and allow other people once in a while to step in and give us their view of what they see.
Right. I love it. I mean, that is awesome. You want to go to second base?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and then we get into second base. Oh, geez, I'm kind of just still reeling a little bit there. Second base is our systems. We like to say it's what you put in place as far as from a morning routine to just your daily habits, the boxes you want to check off to keep your standards high and your purpose clear.
Yeah, keep yourself sharp.
Right. So, and that, that's everything. We won't run that through with obviously athletes and stuff. It's nutrition, working out, the right amount of sleep, and what have you. But it's different for everybody. So, for you, Coach, kind of over your years, what have you put in place? What sort of habits or rituals or routines do you have?
Yeah, what's kind of the mindset of like fall, winter, off season, in season? What are some of the things you do?
Things that you do that you got in place, whether that's morning, evening, what your approach, sort of the thing that you've established that all right, this is what I got to do to the boxes I got to check off.
Well, I think most importantly, I think it's balance. I got to have some balance, especially as I've gotten older. I've got to balance out my schedule in life. I think in our business, there's a saying, no clock, no calendar, no vacation. You can live that way. It's scary.
Yeah.
There's consequences. But there's always another recruit to go watch. There's always another phone call. There's always another letter to write. There's always another whatever. And I think we can get caught up in that cycle, and that's a dangerous cycle. And I think when you're a young coach, you really get caught up in that, and you lose your balance. And I think what I've found, and I think Rick helped me with this, Family's got to be important. You got to take time for your family. If I'm not in balance, and if I haven't taken some time to step away from my job and the game and connect with my family or connect with my hobbies or things I like to do, then I'm out of balance and I'm not as effective. Not as effective. And when I come into this office and there's a lot of people that want to talk to you, and there's a lot of things going on, and sometimes I have to do my planning and my thinking and kind of to get my day set away from here, because I know once I get here, there's all kinds of things that come up that you don't expect. So if I try to do it here, all of a sudden all these distractions, this comes up, coach comes and wants to talk, and all of a sudden you can't really set your world. And then I feel like, God, I don't know what direction I'm going today. And I think you got to step away, and I think your exercise and trying to do something physically to help you strike that balance, to keep you healthy, so you can be effective. So I like you tell players, I think more is not necessarily better. I think it's being effective and working hard, but at the same time keeping things in perspective. And so I think sometimes we go to home plate and first base, and now we got an idea of what we want to do. We have our goals, and now we get so driven. Yeah. We try so hard. We kind of sabotage ourselves to some degree when you don't create the right perspective. Right. And I think for me, I got to have the right perspective, and I got to keep things in perspective and just really focus on the daily process. And I think sometimes I don't have a Twitter account. I don't have a Facebook account. I don't want to read what everybody else thinks we should be doing or we're not doing, or how bad I coach or whatever, because I think I lose perspective then. And I get caught up in all what everybody else's opinion is about what we're doing, and I lose sight of the daily process. And that's, what can I do today to help our program get better, or help this young man get better, or mentor this young person, or do something for my family. And I think you can waste a lot of time and energy, burn up a lot of equity by listening to what everybody else has to say. And I told him when I heard Rob Fornestier, I said, Rob, I don't know the definition of success, but I know what failure is, trying to please everybody. Because it doesn't matter who we recruit or don't recruit, there's always going to be a critic out there that you should have taken this guy, and why'd you recruit that guy? Yeah. And I'm not going to get caught up in reading the blogs and the social media things about what everybody else thinks we should be doing, because all it's going to do is wear me out and take the energy I should have for doing the things I need to do for us to be successful into stuff like that. So I don't subscribe to any of it. I don't need it. I don't want it. And I think sometimes young people do, and I think it does distract from the daily process. Right. They caught up in, or they try to imitate and be somebody else, rather than being themselves and being authentic, and creating your own daily process. Now they start to be a copycat and want to be like somebody else because they saw it on Twitter or social media. And so I think you can get yourself caught up in getting away from who you are, who you want to be, and what your daily process should be. And everybody's different. Right. You got to figure out, how do you need to go through each day to be the most effective you can. And that's why I tell my coaches, I don't have set office hours. Now, if we have meetings or whatever, that's fine. You need to figure out how you can be the most effective. Mm-hmm. All I care about is that you do your job and you do it well. And how you get it done, that's going to be based on how you like your daily process to be. Right. And sometimes if, you want to work at home and come in later, but we have to have a 9 o'clock meeting today because that works for everybody, then you got to be here at 9 o'clock. Yeah. But some guys like to come in later, stay at home, get something done, and then work later here after practice. I'm fine with that. I just want to make sure that you're getting your job done. Yeah. Because not everybody works the same way. And especially in our world, you might have been out recruiting and got home at midnight last night. So should you be in the office at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock in the morning? You're not going to be effective. No. Rest. Get some rest. So when you do get here, you can help the players get better. Right. And so I think sometimes we get caught up in just being way too rigid and not taking a look at how we can help people be effective and what works for them, and trying to find a middle ground to make that work. That's refreshing to hear.
Chase.
Well,
take a beat. Get your physiology back.
Well, it's refreshing to hear, too, because if you a lot of times, and I often even catch myself doing this, too, is it's easy to go on social media and feel like everybody else is working, super hard. You'll be like, well, am I just a slouch here? Did I not get anything done? Everyone else is working their tail off. So, but I know a lot of people go through that, including myself. And so you find that
Well, yeah, and there's a lot of these extra inputs now we got, and what are they doing? They're distracting us, and they're taking, they're every little opportunity to take your power away.
Well, I know
this little thing right here, it's going to affect you,
Yeah.
whether in a good or a bad way. And sometimes the good way is not even the real good way. You're getting a little tire pump.
Well,
Cool,
like
man. Well, you're going to come back down too.
Yeah.
You're going to read something you're going to read a whole lot about you that's going to be like, and like you say, if you allow yourself to get into that world, you're gonna be chasing.
Well, you're just not effective. What you're
as you could be,
into, right? And so awesome systems. I love it. So going into final base here, and coach, for going into your 38th year now, right? Which is just tremendous. Can't even fathom that. So going into your final in the third base here, vision wise, answer that baseball relationship, however you see the university, or maybe even kind of how this all started with maybe coping, young people, leadership, all that type of stuff. What's kind of your vision that you kind of see yourself kind of pushing out in the future? What excites you? What makes you excited to get in the office and continue to improve?
And you've been doing it for 38 years, so maybe you've achieved some of this already. I think that's important to note too.
That's a great point.
Right?
That's a great point.
That's a really interesting question, because I think your vision it changes and it keeps moving, and you keep working. And the thing that really kind of ties it all together is, for me, when I can have contact or read something or see something or have communication or contact with a former player, and see the impact he's having on his community or his life, or the family he's created, or the success he's having in his work world.
Yeah.
That's the vision. That's the end for me of all this. If I can see these young people transition out of their athletic careers, establish meaningful relationships, maybe have a family, have a job, giving back to their communities, trying to help others, staying connected to their teammates and friends, and coming back, and we have a lot of alumni that come back here, and I think because they had a special experience, and it still means something to them. And when I see them come back, that tells me, I guess they felt like they had a pretty good experience. I get more wedding invitations and birth announcements, and it's a good thing, because that means you had an impact.
Right.
Not trying to run away from you. That's the good thing. And there's some that do. I get that. Not going to make them all happy. But to me, the vision is, did you have an impact on somebody's life where you can see that they were here at one day and now they're here? And you can see the growth that went on. And I see somewhere they started, and I see the other day, and I go, wow. Yeah. I can't believe that. Or even while they're here, they come in, they don't say a word the first year. And all of a sudden, they're juniors and seniors. You can't stop. They won't stop talking. And I never thought they would say a word. Or I watch them in our meetings where they start in their freshmen. They don't know what to say in there. And then all of a sudden, they start getting engaged. And they take ownership. And I said, there's growth going on here. That's the end for me, that I see these people growing up and being impactful and taking an interest in others. And so for me, it's I get to watch these young men leave here and move on, and what they do with their lives, and the families they've created, and watch them, raise their families, and or they come back and tell you. I mean, some of the guys came back this year, and one of them, my wife's on Facebook and LinkedIn. She told me this guy took a picture with two former players here with their children in their arms, and with a picture with me out there. And this guy wrote this post about how his experiences impacted his life and how much fun it was to be back on campus. And,
that's cool.
Yeah, so when you talk about vision, that's my vision. That's what I want to see happen after we get to the last base. That means I've had an impact. Yeah. It's not about all these championships over here or guys that play in the big leagues, and that's an accomplishment. That's growth. That's something significant. Mm-hmm. But it's not just about the baseball part of it. It's a balance. We've had 140 players in my career play professional baseball, and that's wonderful. Yeah. But we've also graduated 95% of the players that stayed here 4 years insane. Of my career. Yeah. So that's part of my vision, and I keep an APR, which is a measurement of, retention of your student athletes, graduation rates, those that stay and graduate, that don't leave and transfer and go someplace else. We've had 1,000, which is the top for the last 7 years. Wow. That's a part of my vision. Yeah. That's what I'm about. That tells me that we're doing something right here.
Right.
And then once in a while, you get enough guys, you get lucky, you win championship, and that adds to it. Sure it does.
Yeah.
We're competitive. But I've tried to stay off of the scoreboard at the field and the standings and focus more on people's lives and how we can impact them and how we can help them grow and learn and hopefully turn out to find a place in their own worlds when they become adults that's meaningful, whatever they want to do.
How cool is it that how closely related that purpose, that vision is?
Yeah.
That's neat when you see that. You know, Coach he wants to be a mentor to these guys and get them ready, just so that at the end, when it comes full circle, it's like, yep, I made that impact on these guys, and that's neat when you get to see that sort of correlation. I think it's pretty darn cool.
Coach, what a pleasure to sit here and talk to you for a little over an hour, well, probably 2 hours for the pre-talk. But thank you for taking time. I think that's, in my mind and Dave's mind, that's some of the greatest form of leadership, is to give away your time. So in time of finding balance and putting Dave and I in there, gratefully appreciative of that. And so
well, it's inspiring for me
Yeah.
to talk with people and hear other people's purpose and vision and
Yeah.
what you guys are doing to impact other people's lives. And I learned something by sitting down here and spending some time with you too. And so I think sometimes we don't do this enough, talk to others and share ideas and thoughts and feelings and how we view the world and perspective. And I think it's awesome to do this. We don't do it enough sometimes. And so I appreciate you asking and let me be a part of your world here for a few hours. And I wish you guys the best of luck.
Appreciate the insight, Coach. We're going to try and just continue to carry the torch for you. We've all sat around and talked about feel the need to sort of create a bit more of this awareness with some of the youth coming up, and that's going to be one of our ventures and one of the things we're going to try and tackle here, so that we can develop those leaders that we want to see in our programs and in our businesses and in our communities. That's
what it is. We're developing, first of all, self-leaders, better leader yourself. You can't lead others until you're a better leader yourself.
Yep.
That's the integrity piece, that's the credibility piece. And so it starts with being a better leader yourself. And that's where Rick started with me. He wanted to make me a better leader of myself.
That's awesome.
You can't lead others
story,
better
too.
until you do a better job with yourself.
Right.
And that's what you're trying to do, is help these young people be better leaders of themselves,
Right.
to create their driven purpose.
I love it.
And stay connected to it and understand what it is. And then they can impact others once they do that. And it's awesome what you guys are doing here. And as long as the light bulb goes off sometime, that's what matters.
That's it.
I say that all the time. Somebody might not get it while they're here, but I've had kids call me and they're 24, 25, and they write me a letter and, Coach, the light bulb went off. Now I understand what you're trying to teach me. Great. The light bulb struck.
Yeah.
And so all that matters is that at some point it had an impact, regardless of when it is. And some are ready now, some aren't ready till later, but sometimes you don't even know you're making an impact, and you do. So good luck.
Each seed has a different timeline for germination.
Yeah.
Sorry guys, had to get a little
Well, hopefully we can share this and plant a seed. So
That's it.
Again, Coach, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, Coach.
It's great. Thank you.